Hey everybody, what is happening? Hey guys, geez, I'm actually downloading this or uploading this on Saturday, so this is late, and I've gotten a couple emails from you guys. But let me hold on. Speaking of emails, we recently switched servers, and my email has been acting funky, and I just got onto our cPanel from where we host our site, and realized I have a bunch of emails from you guys that I have not seen, have not responded to, and I still can't even get them on my phone. I'm not sure what's going on. So if you sent me an email over the last few weeks and I haven't gotten back to you, I'm sorry. I'm going to go through those things and hopefully fix that deal. So why is the show late? I'll tell you why. I just spent the last week in Lake Tahoe with a bunch of high net worth people, top producers. It was fantastic. It's a group. It's a invite only group, kind of a thing called GoBundance. It's really a fabulous group. If you can check them out. If you're interested in maybe attending something, let me know, and I'll see about. I'll look into maybe introducing you. But it's an invite only group, and pretty cool. We had who showed up there. If you watch Shark Tank, Robert Herjavec showed up and hung out, and we got to spend some time with him. And so I got a selfie with him, of course. And he brought his girlfriend Kim Johnson from Dancing with the Stars. Yeah, I got a selfie with her too. So anyhow, pretty fun stuff. So look, before we get to today's episode. A few days from now, I'm going to be hopping on a plane going to New Orleans for Keller Williams family reunion. I'm throwing an event. I can't. Everything was sold out, man. So I couldn't rent a conference. I couldn't rent anything. So I'm staying at the Hilton, and we're gonna, on Sunday night about 6 p.m. we're gonna crash the lounge there. So if you're around, send me an email. And look, send it to my Gmail, and I'll give it to you. I almost never do this, but superagentslive@gmail.com, and let's coordinate. I'd love to meet you. We went last year, and I met a bunch of listeners. I almost said fans. That's not cool. A bunch of listeners, and man, it's really nice to connect with you guys. I recently, speaking of connecting, we have listeners in 130 countries. I recently just yesterday hopped on a call with a guy named Kevin McCallan, and pretty cool, man. He signed up for radio. So you know what that means? That means we are international. How about that? Okay, let's talk about today's ep. This is one, I'm not even joking, you're going to want to listen to twice. Okay? This guy delivers the goods. So he started out, it's a husband and wife team. They're doing about 300 deals a year, a little bit more than that. And I know some of you guys are out there going, I can't relate to those 300, 400 deal people because, they have big budgets and blah, blah, blah. Dude, we get into the weeds, man. We get into the weeds both philosophically, and why he thinks your business should be, prospecting based, but then have a marketing focus. And we talk about how, being a prospector and a marketer instead of just one or the other. And by the way, right, a prospecting business is a chase type business. When you have a marketing business, it's an attract business. But he talks about coupling those two disciplines and how that adds a multiplier effect in your market. One section I want you to pay attention to, if you can, around minute 18, dude, he spends 3 minutes dropping like a super condensed strategy for building your business. I was listening to it and I was like, whoa. So anyhow, pay attention to that one. I actually rewound it and listened to it a couple times. We talk about why you should have a FISBO channel, an expired channel, as well as the what he thinks, sort of the magical effects of being able to time block. Now, one thing I think you guys are going to like about this episode is we spent a decent amount of time going over scripting for FSBO, scripting for expireds. And he shares a story where his wife, brand new to the business, he gives her one of his scripts, and she starts calling. He comes, he leaves the office, comes back around lunchtime, and he's like, "Hey, honey, how's it going?" She's like, God, not that great. He's like, "Really? Why? What's wrong?" She's like, "I only booked 7 appointments today." Right? So she did not understand how fabulous those results were. So again, I think this one you're going to want to listen to twice. I'll tell you what, one takeaway that I want to share with you guys, and it's not on this episode. It is something that I learned over the weekend. And by the way, like the people that were at this event, it's a small group, right? At the Go Abundance thing, and these people are, have $10 million to $60 million net worth. And, one thing that really spending time with, like a $50 million guy, the takeaway I got is, the fact that money is unlimited. It's out there everywhere. Money is unlimited. And all it is just, to get it, it's just energy, and it's expending that energy on the right tasks. So that's it. Let's get to the intro. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Okay. Look, normally we drop, we tell you guys about radio, right? And I'm not going to tell you about radio, although I kind of just did. Let me share with you something I am really excited about. I tested this notion out at the group. Everybody wanted this. I've been telling you guys, encouraging you guys to go and start your own podcast. But you know what? It's complicated, right? Buying the equipment, figuring out how to submit your show to iTunes, how in the world to use, Adobe Audition software to edit it. Here's the deal. We're rolling out Viralcast. We have the developers right now building a site. Everybody, it's a done-for-you podcasting service, okay? I'm telling you, man, I told, we had sort of a go pitch at the event. I pitched it, and literally everybody was throwing their card at me. They're like, "Oh, yes, I want to do a podcast." So if you want to do a podcast, send me an email. I'll tell you about it, but this is completely done for you. All you do, give us a time and date to call you. We call you, and we record it, we edit it, we produce it, we publish it. So it's completely done for you. So anyhow, excited about that. My Twitter handle on the Twitter is Super Agents Live, at Super Agents Live. Please join the conversation. I want to meet you out in Twitter land. Hashtag for the show is Unpack That Idea. And as usual, you guys are not going to want to miss future episodes like this. Go to the show, go to the site, superagentslive.com, subscribe, get on our mailing list. And that's where you can find the show notes. And man, I get at least one email every week saying, where are those dang show notes? Look, go to the site, and there's a button that says read more. All right. Hey, let's get to it. I hope you like it. Today's guest, I'm super excited to talk to. Now, you guys know I love number ones, and you guys also know we're taking a geographic approach this year. So today's guest is in the greater Las Vegas area. That covers Las Vegas, Henderson, a few different cities. In that market, there are 12,500 people in that market. This guy's number one. So to be number one, he's doing about 52 million, 330 deals. And to get there, he has 8 admin people. Huge number. 8 admin people, 3 full-time buyer's agents, and then 2 listing agents, and 1 includes him. I'm thrilled to welcome Rick Brankus. Hey, Rick, thanks for taking the time out.
Toby, thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
So I've given the audience a brief, just nuts and bolts overview of kind of what your business looks like. But before we get there, I want to dig into what's working, what's not. But before we get there, Rick, tell us a little bit about you. I'm always very interested in, the man behind the machine.
Oh, okay. So I got into real estate. This will actually be my 30th year in real estate.
Oh, wow.
I got into real estate right out of high school, and went 1 year to UNLV, and then got into real estate. I work with my wife Terry. We joined forces a couple of years after that. We've been working together for about 26 years. And initially it was us, and as we started to grow, started adding on administrative team and buyer agents moving forward.
So okay, you started right out of school. How? I mean, what were your parents in real estate, or what happened that you were look, you went to UNLV 1 year. I'm sure you were having fun, chasing girls around or whatever. But I mean, what made you so serious that you said, "Hey, I'm going to start a business" 30 years ago?
Hey, it was a fantastic time to be at UNLV. That was back in the Run and Rebel glory days of with Tark the Shark and Stacey Ogman and Larry Johnson on the basketball team. So it was a great time to be there. But in still working and going to school, I was going to have to cut my load down, and it was going to probably take me 6 or 7 years to actually get a degree. I found that in real estate, it was one of those that you got rewarded for the harder you work, the more money you make. And that you could get a real estate license in 6 weeks, and that sounded like a much better plan than the 6 or 7 year plan. And then to start off, at the bottom at that point. So,
Sure.
My first year did not set the world on fire. My first year in real estate, I think I sold 11 or 12 properties, and at that time, much lower sales price, so barely made the $1 million club, which was a big deal back then. And then started moving forward. Once Terry joined forces, that's when it really kicked into high gear. Our first year together, we sold 52 houses.
Now again, it's so funny. The world of real estate, in some ways has changed a lot in the last 30 years, and in other ways it really hasn't changed at all. If this is, I'm jumping into this way too early than I should, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you started 30 years ago?
Gosh, that is a great question. I think that technology, it is a double-edged sword. I think that it certainly, absolutely has a need, and it can help you and save a tremendous amount of time. I also see sometimes that technology, some people get bogged down and think that is the catch-all, end-all to having a tremendous real estate career. Now, certainly it helps you grow from there, but I think that to be successful, and there's many ways to get to the top of the hill, don't get me wrong, but I think it needs to be a prospecting-based and marketing-enhanced and type of business. In other words, you need to really become a master of the scripts and not be fearful of the telephone at all.
I agree. So hold on. And it's funny. So that's kind of what I was alluding to, right? I mean, technology has changed, but people think, or they in an ideal world, they want to sit by their, behind their computer, behind their screen and be on Facebook and Twitter and have a successful business. And I love that your sentiment of, look, it's prospecting based. So I want you to unpack that if you could. You said, if I have this right, you need to be marketing based with a prospecting focus. Or how did you say that a minute ago?
Okay, so I think you need to be marketing based with a prospecting enhanced. In other words, that you can't just get a billboard or run an ad or do a lot of mail outs and expect business to come in. You need to be a master of the telephone. I think prospecting comes first, and the marketing just kind of enhances what you do. Even if you got a tremendous amount of leads from a lot of different marketing, you would need to have some great skills developed on the telephone and prospecting and lead follow-up in order to do that. So if you really develop those skills early with the prospecting, obviously you can, as you make more money, go ahead and add to that with marketing. But I think prospecting is the first key.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So really kind of what you're saying is, hey, be prospecting based, and the marketing stuff that you do will just be a sort of an enhancer, right? It'll be, whether you have a billboard or radio or whatever, that is a multiplier effect to what you're actually doing in real life.
I agree with that. Yes, that's and the skill set that you will develop with that is when you actually get those leads that may come in from different marketing programs that you're doing, you'll have the skill set to be able to convert those to actual appointments, and when you're on the appointments, be able to convert those to actual contracts.
Okay. Now, you've said phone-based, about like 3 or 4 times you said the telephone. So are you a proponent, Rick, of just cold calling? Or when you say phone, what do you mean? Are you saying call into your database, call into your sphere, or maybe, again, unpack that piece a bit?
Yeah, I agree with all of those. All of those are very important, and you need to not only track the number of contacts, number of attempts, and the number of contacts to make sure that you're on pace for a daily, but I think you need to track the number of appointments. Mm-hmm. So I think it's much easier to, if you really needed to get an appointment, sometime today, you absolutely needed to. I think you should probably spend all your day only calling for sale by owners. I think for sale by owners have kind of raised their hand. They say, I want to sell my house, but I have a belief I could do it better than an agent, or I believe I need to save the commission. There's a number of other reasons that they may try to do that, but those are probably the 2 main reasons. So usually you can get an appointment, but many times there's a ripening process, for lack of a better word, that maybe they're buying a new home and it's not going to be ready for 4 or 5 months. So they're saying, hey, I'm going to just give it 3 weeks or 30 days. If I don't sell it, then I'll list it with an agent. So even if you say everything right that first day, there's a ripening process. So easier to get an appointment, but a little tougher to get a contract signed that very first day out. With an expired listing, they had a belief, they were willing to pay a commission. For whatever reason it didn't sell. Maybe it was due to lack of marketing, maybe it was because of pricing or condition of the property. But there, if I needed to get a listing contract signed today, I would call only expired listings because they already were willing to pay a commission. So now all I need to do is convince them to either correct the condition, the price, or explain that I'm going to do a better job of marketing, not drop the ball, or whatever may have happened last time. But I think you need to be well-rounded. I think you also you absolutely must contact your past clients. Over the long haul, that will be the lifeblood of your business. Mm-hmm. And then have your antenna up at either social functions, wherever it is that you're going to find these people that are kind of raising their hand. They're thinking of selling in the next couple of days, and those could come from a variety of, either from marketing, open houses, sphere of influence, past clients. They can come from a variety. And it also kind of breaks up the monotony of just being on the telephone all day. I think the best way to do that is to actually have scheduled time block times that you're going to do your lead generation and lead follow-up. You can lump that together or you could separate it out. But lead follow-up, you can generate leads by the dozens. If you don't have a follow-up system, they could fall by the wayside.
Yeah. Well, so I got to tell you, if someone listened to just that last 3 minutes, I mean, that's it right there. I mean, you just explained everything that someone needed to do to start their business. That was an incredible amount of information that I think a lot of people are not going to be able to digest that quickly. So let's back up a little bit. So if you needed an appointment today, call FSBOs. If you need a listing today, call Expireds. And I want to talk about the skill set because you said, calling into these 2 groups, you're going to become well-rounded. You're going to get that skill set. So for both of these, and again, there's so much that you just said there, Rick. Because I do want to talk about that customer development, that ripening process as well. But let's talk about that skill set. And being scripted, right? You got to be very scripted on both FSBOs and Expireds, and get that skill set. How does someone, if they don't have that skill set, and I'm talking too much, that skill set is being able to work on the phone. That skill set is knowing the scripts. Where does someone start?
Well, somebody starts with number 1 is just having the desire.
Okay.
And, I'll tell a quick story. My wife's very first day in real estate, she had a real estate license. I had an appointment to go out and show some houses. I had just a skeleton of a script to call for sale by owners, and she had a very high desire to succeed. So I said, well, I'm going to go out and show houses for a couple hours. What can I do? And I said, I've got a script here. If there's a newspaper that just got delivered up front, maybe you can call some FSBOs. And in 2 hours, I came back. I said, how'd your day go? She goes, not very good. And I said, well, let's go to lunch. We'll talk about it. We'll plan for the second half of the day. She said, I only set 7 appointments. So very first day in there, rough skeleton, just a high desire to succeed, and just setting the appointment. So number one, it's understanding that the telephone is not designed to convince them to list the home or to correct them if they're overpriced or to correct any problems or challenges they may have with condition, if you're looking at pictures or so on. All it's designed to do is to set an appointment. So number one is be very clear on that. You want to get face-to-face. There's a number of different great training programs, or I don't know if your companies have great training programs or where you can go, but there is a number of them out there and have a semblance of a script, and to probably have a role-play partner and to practice for about 15 minutes and make sure that you do it out loud. If you just are reading a script, I find that it's radically different. Kind of reading it, it sounds real good, and then all of a sudden when you start to talk out loud, it doesn't go exactly the way you want. So you want to have some semblance of a script that you can follow there. But I think the desire to set appointments and to get better, and just frame it that understanding it's not a matter of convincing them that they have to list, it's just a matter of convincing them to meet with you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, with that script, right, some semblance of a script, and you want to convince them, you want to persuade them to just meet with you, is that the most effective way to do that? Is it, in your mind, Rick, should I be asking questions, right? If it's an expired, like, hey, why do you think it didn't sell, right? Is it probing in terms of asking questions? Is that the best way to get appointments? Or is it just a script of, hey, listen, I'm better than the last guy?
Sure, that's a great question, and I think the answer is that a question-based script is the best one, is if you can get them talking. What did your agent do that you liked best? What do you think the agent should have done? Why do you feel that the home didn't sell if you're talking to an expired listing? If you're talking to a for sale by owner, how's the traffic been on the house? Many times they're going to say, oh, it's been great. Have you received any written offers? Many times they're going to say no. So it's again, kind of, they don't realize that they may have a problem. Getting them to talk about the house. What upgrades have you done? And especially if they've done some upgrades, they're really going to talk about those things. So when you meet with them, make sure that you point them out, that you've noticed them, and that is going to help their home sell. So it's asking a lot of questions, taking a lot of notes, and giving them back what they already gave you on the telephone. Yeah.
And I think the other thing, and I think you'll agree with this, but I when you start to ask questions and probe into, what didn't work, what do you feel, should have been done, I think you turn from a salesperson, which, many people think of realtors as a kind of like a used car salesman, but you turn from a salesperson into an advisor, right? Somebody that, hey, listen, I'm the expert. I can help you. Help me understand what you feel went right or didn't go right.
Absolutely. And by being that advisor, they don't care how many sales you've had.
Right.
If you're new to the business or if you've been in business for 20 or 30 years, they want to know that somebody is interested in what's important to them. So being that advisor, that's a great word, and that's probably the best way. And then don't be afraid to ask for the appointment.
Yep. Yeah, no. How would you wait? So I'm going to ask some questions, right? What upgrades, whatever, all this stuff. How would you weight the questioning around time frame, right? Because if it's an expired, right, many times it's going to expire because it's going to be conditioned. At the end of the day, it's price. So how how important is time frame and when you are considering an expired or FSBO in your mind?
So yeah, with many expired listings, odds are that probably about 75 or 80% of them, I don't have an exact science on this, but probably close enough for government work, as they say, but about 75 to 80% of them will list their home within the next 7 to 10 days.
Got it. Okay.
So you need to be early and often, and sometimes they're so overwhelmed with the calls that you can call them at 10 in the morning and get one answer, and call them back at 4 in the afternoon and get a different answer. So you want to be early and often, and understand you have a small time frame. If you make contact and say, okay, great, well, I'll follow up with you in 3 or 4 weeks. By the time you call them back again, they're gone. They've already listed. So you need to be quick there. With a for sale by owner, you need to get face to face. And then be that trusted advisor along the way, and to be able to, bring up points of differentiation, or kind of plant seeds of doubt that they'll be able to get it done. They may be marketing a home, for example, on a limited number of internet sites, and then when you can talk about the sheer number of homes the sites that you're going to market it on, it kind of will blow them away that they can get so much more exposure by going with you.
Right. So let's talk. Earlier you said, if it's a for sale bidder, many times they'll say, well, let me give it a couple weeks, a month. I'll try to sell it myself because my new house, that's new construction house, that's not going to be ready for 4 or 5 months. What you said earlier, Rick, was there's a ripening process, right? Fundamentally, there's and I want you to speak to the difference. One is a ripening process, which in my mind, Rick, is as this person gets their new house gets more and more complete, their sense of urgency is going to increase, progress along with the construction with their new house, for example. And two, right, there's a customer development process. How do you see, what should somebody think about in terms of developing a customer along the way, that 4 or 5 months for their new house, or developing that for sale by owner to move them away, that mind shift, say, listen, you should spin the commission and let me sell your house?
Sure. So what you need to develop is a system for follow-up. What I like to do is what I call my 18 and 6. 18 contacts over the next 6 weeks. And what I want to do is I want to take over the complete mind share. So when that decision is made, it's late at night, they're frustrated, they had an open house all day long, nobody showed up, or somebody was supposed to come with an offer, they didn't come in with an offer last week, and when they're ready to list, they'll usually come down to 1 or 2 or 3 agents that it's between, and you want to be one of those agents. Sometimes they will agree to interview all 3 of them. Sometimes they'll just make a decision and pick one of them. So you want to be, of the number of agents that follow up, there's a huge drop-off from the time that somebody contacts the for sale by owner, and the appointment may or may not go right that very first time, that there's a huge drop-off that many agents never contact them even a second time. What I do is I send them a postcard, an email, and a phone follow-up every single week, so 3 contacts a week for 6 weeks. My thought is, if I can't convince them to list with me in 6 weeks, I may never be able to convince them, or if I ultimately do, I'll spend so much time I will have lost out on some other people.
Right.
So if I can't convince them within 6 weeks, then I kind of drop them off my follow-up system. And my thought here is that if I don't have some semblance of a pruning mechanism, my list of what I call my potential sellers is going to grow to be 200-300 people, and I'm not going to be able to keep with rule number 1, which is a phone call every single week.
Got it. Now, so there's 2 things that reminds me of. So here's a simple. I'll ask you the easy question first. So when I agree with that, you have to prune your list. Now, what about passing it off? I mean, for me, I have found there's so much. I don't know if I told you, but we have a radio advertising arm that's part of our platform here, and I have found that I many times will get better engagement from a guy like you. So I can call you and say, hey, Rick, listen, are you interested in doing radio? And by the way, I know you do radio. Or when I shove this off to one of my VAs and they call in and say, hey, Rick, I'm Toby Salgado's executive assistant. He asked me to give you a call. I many times get better responses from having a third party call rather than me myself. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Kind of meets half and half. There are a certain percentage that obviously it's much easier for someone else to toot your horn and talk about accomplishments than you by yourself. That comes across as bragging if you do it that way. And then on the flip side, some people want to deal with the realtor direct, as opposed to maybe a partner or an administrative assistant. So it's half and half. However, the benefit is, and I do have an inside salesperson that helps me do my lead follow up and also some lead generation. But it allows me to cover more contacts on a daily basis. So while I'm, if I was in back-to-back meetings, I may be gone for 4 hours, and in that same time period, he may have been able to contact 40 or 50 people. So it's important I do believe in having an administrative team also help you do follow-up.
Okay. And I want to start to get into what's working for you and price range barriers. But when you were telling me in the audience about your 18-6, 18 contacts in 6 weeks, it made me think of somebody that I'm sure you know. Of Tim Heil.
Sure.
So Tim Heil and oh God, I'm thinking of the other guy. I can see his face. I can't think of it. But, so they have this 10 days of pain kind of thing, where they're literally for the 10 days after, they're hammering these people, hammering them with 4, 5, 6, 7 calls a day. That's working for them. Why do you take sort of a, 1 call per week, and then I send you a postcard, and then I send you an email? That's a much more soft lob rather than just boom, boom, boom. 7 calls a day.
Sure. So I think that initial being super aggressive up front, if you get a lead, let's say that comes in from an internet or somebody that calls, you're not there to physically take them and set the appointment, and you haven't actually spoken with them, I think it's probably appropriate to take that more aggressive approach.
Okay.
If you actually made contact with them, again, there's certainly benefits to it, but anytime that there's benefits, there's an opposite. And if they said, we're going to be processing this, why don't you give us a call back after the weekend? And if I call them again today and tomorrow, it may alienate them and push them away. Certainly, there's a script for that. If I ever do that, where I come across being too aggressive, they'll say, "Gosh, you're awful aggressive." And I say, "Gosh, if you think I'm aggressive with you, you should see when I get a buyer interested in your home. Then we get really aggressive with them and kind of add a little bit of humor and kind of chuckle and say, I just wanted to get in touch with you, and it's real important. I think you may cost yourself several hundred, several $1,000s if you don't hear what I have to say. When's a good time we can meet?" So you don't cower from that objection. You kind of embrace it, but yet you also, it can leave a lasting scar there that you may not be able to overcome. So let's have some scripts to overcome it, but be sensitive to it.
I agree, and I think this is where I think a lot of this points back to the skill set that you were talking about developing, right? If you have the skill set, and I'm sure you're very good at whatever you do. You can sense from the first phone call if that kind of aggressiveness is going to push them away or it's acceptable for them. So, okay. Let me look. I want to get your thoughts on this. Why I am in your camp. Learning to work the phone is a skill set that will be extremely beneficial for everybody. Yet many people just they can't do it. They can't do it, and some people go, I can't door knock, and other people go, I love it, and I can't call. Why is it that what is it that holds people back from maybe embracing the use of the telephone to prospect?
Well, I think that they jump in sometimes in a very hostile environment. If you're calling for sale by owners or expired listings, it's very direct, and they're wanting to do it. They're either wanting to do it by themselves without an agent. Mm-hmm. So, number one, when an agent calls, they're a little bit rattled, or they just had a bad experience with an agent, whether it was the agent's fault or because the home was overpriced or condition was bad. They're going to be pointing at the agent and they had a bad experience. So you need to kind of get over that and don't take that rejection personally. It's just a pure numbers game. Yep. Believe in the value of your service, that you do have a valuable service. If it was true that everybody could sell their house themselves and they didn't need to pay a commission, everybody would do it, and there'd be no need for a real estate agent. So if you just start from the very basic, that there absolutely is a desire for real estate, and a need for real estate. I can think of, dozens of transactions last year. If I wasn't there to advise them on the price, on negotiating the contract, and then when challenges erupted during the transaction, to be able to keep everybody calm and keep their eye on the prize of getting the transaction closed, that transaction never would have closed. So, just buyer and seller by themselves many times aren't able to put that transaction together. They really do need you, and it starts with your core belief that there is a desire, that you're not just there taking a fee and not providing a service.
Yeah.
So once you can get past that, that many times helps people get more comfortable with it, and then start up with some more friendly, maybe holding open houses, which is a more passive activity. They're coming to you, and then those people, if they've left you a correct name and phone number, they're expecting some semblance of a follow-up. You say, hey, would it be okay, or if I had some great information that I could add, what would be a good email address that I could send to? Great. And if you ask for their and get their permission, you're just doing what they said that you were going to do, and that's in following up with them. So that helps people get more comfortable with the telephone. But I think whether you're doing all open house, open houses, door knocking, mail outs, internet advertising, radio, television, phone book, whatever it is, you're going to have to get some skill sets on the phone. So I think developing those skills on the phone are going to translate into however you're lead generating.
I agree. And look, I love the thing that you said a minute ago. You said something along the lines of, you should listen to me. This is not exactly what you said, but you should listen to me, because if you don't, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. So it might be worth your time. I think that's how you lead it into it. So let's say we go through this process. We know how to work the phone, blah, 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 and expireds and FSBOs are just two different channels, right? So obviously, everybody has their sphere. That's a third channel. Now, when we talk about seller magnets, what are some of the things that you're doing? I know you're doing radio, and I want to talk with you about how that's working for you. What are some of the other things that's working for you in Las Vegas?
So past clients are huge. We do 3 client appreciation events a year. We do a Easter egg decorating and jump house with decorating cookies. People with young children and or grandparents absolutely love that. We rent a neighborhood pool out in the summer, and we have a little pool party, and then in the fall we do and again, invite them to our office. Everybody in the office decorates their doors. We do it together collectively as an office. Have jump houses. Have little door prizes that they can win, and it gives kids a chance to dress up in their costumes. So we do that, and you get the mileage whether your clients come to that or not. Both in the marketing of the program, hey, come to this client appreciation event. Then you send out a postcard with some pictures afterward. It's just one of those great events that you do. We also do some phone follow-up with them. Both myself and my inside sales person throughout the year will contact past clients. We do a lot with both emails and also postcards to past clients. So I think that's a huge portion of our business as well.
Well, and I think I love the fact that, and I want to talk about how you determine who gets in, but I love the fact that you throw these events on, number one. Number two, you take pictures and send them out, and I think that's another great opportunity to say, listen, follow me on Facebook. Let me follow you on Facebook because I'm going to send out pictures, or follow me on Instagram, whatever. And again, if they go, oh yeah, I'll follow you on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, that's a chance for you to interact with them. With some of your other listings, right? So I love that. Now, when it comes to your past clients and your pool parties or whatever, is this a blanket past client, or do you grade your database, right? A, B, C, D, and only my A's who refer me get into these events? Is there an exclusivity that you bake into these events?
Yeah, the way that we do it, because it is, if you were doing a, wine and dinner at a very upscale restaurant, you may want to do that only for a very select number of clients that have referred a certain number of people or so on. With this, it's a very big event, and we do not grade going across. Okay. Only certain people get into it. So we invite everybody, and if hundreds of people show up, fantastic, we can accommodate it. If only a few show up, fantastic, we can accommodate that as well. So, we have a big, wide variety. We don't grade it.
Okay, and just to give me a sense of how these events are working for you, out of your 330 transactions, a percentage of buyers sellers.
So it's about 75 to 80% on the about 75% on the listing side and about 25% on the buyer side. You had asked me earlier in the call on somebody that's kind of growing their business. I think that working with the buyer, you just need to provide great customer service, and they will go ahead and buy. I think with a listing, there's a little bit more of a skill set that you need to do to convince them to list their home with you. So as you're developing that skill set, develop the great customer service with buyers, and they'll become very loyal. You sell a lot of buyers, and 3 to 5 years from now, they'll become great sellers, and they'll become a great referral source in the meantime. One of the things that we do along the way is at the time that we either take a listing or at the time that we're actually going into to actually sign a contract, at that very moment, they've got the highest credibility and trust with you. If I'm on a listing appointment and I sell it the very next day, they may think that I underpriced it. If it takes me 3 months to sell it, they may think I'm not doing a good job on marketing. But at that very moment that they're signing the contract, my credibility is the highest. So after all the paperwork is signed, we have just a very generic form. Who else do you know that's thinking of buying or selling? And we have 4 lines under each one: name, address, phone number, name, address, phone number. And then we kind of try to ask them in specific areas, who else you know, family, friends, coworkers, social club members that may know. And many times, about 50% of the time, we'll get a referral right then and there because they're talking about buying or selling, and they have these other people that they're talking about. So it's a great opportunity to really add to your transactions by asking for the referral right at that very moment.
Yeah, no, and I think the other important thing you said in there. So ask for it. Don't be scared of it. Number one, and two, it's queuing up that thought process, right? At church, at work, at your club, at your health club, whatever it is. I think that is, it would be very interesting to see the data of when you ask that question. Do you know anybody? And the responses, and then look at the responses when you queue it up, right, at your church, at your club, at work. And I would imagine when because I've had this happen to me, when somebody sort of puts a lens on a specific type of event, it helps me think oh yeah, it's Jimmy at the health club. So I just want to throw one other thing in. When they sign that contract, accept the offer, whatever it is, I think that's also a great time to ask for a testimonial, right? Like, hey, can I put you on video saying that that you enjoy, you enjoyed our time working together. And I think that social proof, whether it's on Yelp or Zillow or whatever, it goes a long way in the marketplace.
Sure, I think that's a great opportunity. From the time that you get an accepted contract until it closes, there may be a couple of bumps along the way. But again, at that very moment, they're very happy, and that's a great time to ask for either a written or a video testimonial. Absolutely, that's a great point. So
okay, so again, let's go back to some of the stuff that you're using, right? Your seller magnet. So tell us what you're doing. You're doing, and this is now I want to get to the marketing. We've been talking about the prospecting piece, but for marketing for you, Rick, radio, billboards. What are some of the other things that you're doing?
Okay, so we're doing some radio. We do a lot of postcards, some to neighborhoods, a lot to our past clients. In going through, we ask for referrals throughout the transaction, and that is really good, and provide great service so that we can go ahead and get those referrals as they come in. Do some neighborhood prospecting around our listings and sales, as well as calling FSBOs and expireds. So we have kind of a well-versed area there in doing all of those. Also some social media, as well as some different internet sites as well.
Now, so I didn't hear you say open houses. Are you is that something you do on a consistent basis or no?
We do. We recommend to our buyer team to go ahead and do it, especially with open houses. What I found early in my career, back when print advertising was very important, sometimes I had a great house that I thought was going to bring in a ton of calls, and I'd run an ad on it, and it didn't. And sometimes I would have a property that I think would never sell, and it would bring in a ton of phone calls off of specifically off of an ad. So what I found was that sometimes it's not the property, but it's the ad. And with open houses, I find it's not the property, but the accessibility. There's going to be some that are on more easily accessible streets that are going to make for a more popular open house than a home that, quite frankly, may be in better condition and a better buy, but it's a little bit more difficult to get. So on those, we try to really enhance. It's a great way to go ahead and do it. As part of our marketing to a seller, we promise that we're not going to do an open house. I think an open house is over the years you can sell a house on an open house. I think it's a great way to attract more buyer business than it is to do to actually get more seller business. So then you can, again, work with those buyers. But there's a technique that I've heard some people use called a reverse open house. So right after you sell a house and you put a sold writer on the sign, you hold an open house the next weekend. And Toby, who do you think comes to all of those open houses?
I would imagine everybody in the neighborhood going, "Hey, well, I mean, how did Rick sell this for 10% more and in 13 days?"
Right. So the people that you get that come to those open houses are the sellers. So that's a great way to attract seller business. And again, do the same type of things. Knock on doors, 10 on either side, 20 across the street. Hey, I'm holding an open house. This and well, you just sold that one. Yep, we're giving the neighborhood a chance to come in. So anybody that's thinking of selling anytime in the next 6 to 9 months is probably going to attend that. And hey, tell me about the buyers. How quick did you sell it? What price did you sell it for? And you're going to get a little bit more interest that way. You still may pick up some buyer leads, but again, so on your marketing, you need to have a message clear. Am I trying to attract buyers? Am I trying to attract sellers? Right. Don't try to dilute it and do attract both on the same message. So when you're having a generic open house, it's more for buyers. A reverse open house would be more for attracting sellers.
Yeah, no, I mean, messaging is, messaging and copy is extremely important, and I think most agents just don't get that fact. I mean, it's simply, in terms of messaging or writing copy, this also speaks to, how you communicate the property visually. And look, I love this idea of reverse open house. Rick, you're the first person that has brought this up. But, if I was a buyer, I mean, I can think of myself, if I was a buyer and I was looking at a neighborhood, and many times, the last house I bought where I'm at today, I bought in about an 04 when it was red hot market. But I would have loved to go into a house that I was interested in and take a look at it and go, how much did this sell for, right? Because that's going to help me gauge what I'm going to pay for the next house in that. So I love that idea. Now, help me understand. Many people out there, you've been at this a while, Rick. You're good at what you do. You are clearly an entrepreneur, and you're running your business, obviously, with 300 transactions. You're running your business like a business. People struggle with that, and many times the first hire is the hardest. They get it wrong. It's you doing the listings. You have a part-time listing agent, 3 buyer's agents, but you have eight admin. Why are you so heavy on the admin side? That's a lot of people.
I scratch my head with that a lot as well. We want to provide a great level of customer service. We always are always certainly business conscious as well. One of the with the volume of calls, we have somebody whose their main job is to be the receptionist. So if in a smaller, lower volume, when we were at lower volume, our transaction coordinator was also the receptionist. As we started going, it was taking people away from their focus on doing their job, so we were able to do that. I've got another administrative person that is my inside salesperson, takes a lot of the incoming marketing calls as well as makes some outgoing prospecting calls, and also helps me do some follow-up. So, then we have also a REO team. As the market has transitioned, most of our business today is traditional business, but we still do have some relationships with some accounts and want to make sure that we have a great service there. We've got a field runner as well, listing closing manager. And then we also have somebody that helps us with marketing and managing mainly our personal rental properties, which we have, but also is there if we need some overflow for some other things with the team. So have kind of a whole full team there doing a variety of things, and with the focus on providing the best level of customer service.
Got it. Okay. Now we have to start wrapping up. There's so much I want to ask you, Rick. I mean, you are one out of probably 5 people I bring on, and I bring on people that are as successful as you. 1 out of 5 people I get very as succinct, like well thought out answers as I'm getting from you. So I'm enjoying our time together. I want to take a few minutes and ask you some self-interested questions about radio. And we have a guy that we represent in Vegas, and we're struggling with that market, and I don't get why. Do you feel comfortable? I know that I'm a little bit competing on airtime with you. Do you feel comfortable talking with me about radio for you in Vegas?
Yeah, sure. I guess so.
Well, and I'm not going to ask anything proprietary. I just, how has the radio been? At least lately, has it still been performing for you as well as it has been in the past?
Sure. I mean, it's a part of what we do. Again, I would signify it as a part of what we do, and we also do everything else. And sometimes it also just helps people feel. Sometimes it's what gets us the lead. And sometimes in a competing situation, it's what puts us over the edge. And then sometimes it just helps solidify that relationship with a past client that I'll run into at a store, or still go to UNLV basketball games. I'll see them at a UNLV basketball game, and they have heard us on the radio as well. So it just kind of brings up that topic of real estate and lets them see and identify me. So when that referral comes in, 30 days later, was it because they've been a past client, that they've been getting postcards, that they've heard me on the radio, or that I bumped into them at the store?
Right.
So it's kind of a combination of everything.
And again, this goes back to, this marketing in general has a multiplier effect on everything else you do. And, radio gives you obviously instant credibility. Look, I'll ask you a very specific question. And so the guy that we have, I'll tell you who it is. It's Jared Jones. You know Jared?
Sure, I know Jared.
So
good guy.
Great guy. Really great guy. So we put him on an ESPN channel, and if we looked at the numbers say that station was a go. And again, it's just not kicking. Have you ever tried ESPN, and did that work for you, or did we just somehow make a mistake in channel station or station choice in that market?
I can't remember if we did. We've tried a couple of different stations, and some of them, again, you just like any marketing, I always recommend doing a red light, green light. Is you test it. If it's working, you keep doing it and look for ways to improve it. If it's not, then you look for ways to improve it or stop doing it.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, enough on that. So again, we have to start wrapping up. I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions I ask everybody. And the first one, and I'm very curious for you, you're at Keller Williams, you're a high-performing guy, you have access, I'm sure, to guys like Gary Keller and now, Chris Heller. But over you, both professionally and personally, who has been a mentor to you, Rick?
A lot of those. Gary Keller is very instrumental in our business. Early on, we attended a lot of Mike Ferry seminars, and still very fond of a lot of the things that Mike's taught us. Tom Ferry also. Right now, and probably for the last 20 years or so, it's been Gary Keller. Just talking about vision of thinking bigger. Creating masterminds that allow us to interact and network with some of the top agents from around the country. Just absolutely incredible. as
Yeah.
well as, both business, and I'll separate financial, thinking you to think bigger, creating wealth for yourself, and also personally, really causes you to stretch, both physically and personally for other accomplishments. So Gary's been just a huge part of our business for the last 15 or 20 years.
Now, do you have, other than that, I know you mentioned Mike, and by the way, both Mike Ferry and Tom Ferry have been on this show. Do you currently, even today, with your level of success, do you have a coach?
I do. We work through coaches through the Keller Williams system. They've got some coaches there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
Keller Williams MAPS program. Yeah.
So what does somebody like you get out of that? I mean, you don't really need help with marketing. You don't need help. Like what?
What a great question. Number one, it challenges you to stay on track for the goals that you've set and establish that. I think a coach will, it's not going to make everybody perform at the same level, but it will make everybody perform at a better level. If it weren't true, Tiger Woods probably wouldn't have had 5 different coaches. I mean, right. He had, one coach should have been able to do everything, but he had strength coaches and flexibility coaches and a swing coach. I mean, so they're looking at different aspects. For many people, you're not going to have one person that's going to be a mentor in all areas of your life. So you want to look for those role models in other areas, but specifically in real estate, a real estate coach, I think, can help you achieve higher levels, meet the goals that you're doing, can create introductions because it's such a relationship business that maybe one of those introductions helps you, take it to another level, give you different ideas or give you a twist off of an idea that you're already doing that can make it a little bit better.
Right. So I agree with the introduction piece, and the accountability is one thing, but for a guy like you who's achieved such high levels of success, do you ever struggle with your coach who's probably not as successful as you, saying, "Hey, come on, Rick, you can do better," and you're like, is there a tendency to go, "Yeah, buddy, look, you haven't got to where I'm at, so don't I don't know. Maybe that's an ego thing that I struggle with, but is that ever a struggle for you?
Well, just going back to the example I gave, I don't know if any of Tiger's coaches won as many,
right.
Major tournaments as he has. So, I think anybody, there's just a certain number of questions that anybody can go ahead and ask. Hey, what was your goal? How'd you do with that goal?
Yeah.
What would you do differently if you had it to do over again? And just kind of ask those questions. The answers are probably within inside you, and a coach can kind of guide you to make sure that you're on track.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. That's a great answer. All right. So I only have 2 more questions. Now, I always ask for a book recommendation. Now, since you are a Keller Williams person, Gary's books are off. You cannot recommend any of those books. That happens to you often. So here's the setup, Rick. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
Well, if I could recommend one of Gary's books, I would say The One Thing.
Yep.
That would be an incredible book. But just about anything from John Maxwell. He's got some great, incredible books on leadership, and he's got the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and he's got a couple others on teamwork. But John Maxwell has some incredible books that I would recommend.
Yeah, no, did John, by the way, I agree with you on the one thing. I was in Orlando. Were you in Orlando for the KW family reunion?
I was. Sure.
Dang it, I wish we would have met. So on the plane back, I listened to the one thing. I really enjoyed it. Now, John Maxwell, did he write the 22 immutable laws of marketing, or is that somebody else? Because I just went through that one.
Sounds like one of the titles that could have been of his book, but many times his are on leadership. I'm not sure if that was one or not. Okay.
Well, listen, for everybody, this is for everybody out there. You can get a free copy of any of John Maxwell's books on leadership, on communication. Just use our link. Go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive and get a free copy on us. So my last question to you, Rick, is for you, man. I wish we would have had more time to get into the dynamics of working with your wife for the last 26 years, but we don't. But do you have a personal habit that you feel has contributed to your success?
I work hard. And I get up every day. I prepare to succeed, and I plan to succeed. And I'm willing to put in the time and effort for that. So that is, and it really is a dynamic team. The fun part about the business for me is to go out and meet with sellers, help them resolve a challenge and an issue, and move forward. And Terry's done a lot with the infrastructure of our team in creating a great systems so that things don't fall through the cracks. So I think you need kind of a balance of both. An individual agent certainly can do it, makes it much more challenging. With us, it just really worked out well that she's got some incredible systems and an eye for improvement to be able to do that. And I get to do what is fun for me is going out and meeting with the public.
Yeah, you know what? And look, so I just working hard, work ethic, right? I mean, that's what you said, and it goes back to being on the phone, right? This business is a numbers game, right? So if you can outwork the next guy can be smarter than you. The next guy can have a bigger marketing budget than you, but if you can outwork him, you will win. So listen, Rick, I always encourage my audience, if they've gotten anything out of this episode, which there's a lot of nuggets in here, if they've gotten anything out of this episode, where can they find you? I always encourage them to reach out and say thank you. And maybe somebody wants to join your team.
Hey, fantastic. I am in Las Vegas and Henderson. We've got an office in both cities. Rick Brinkus at the Brinkus team, Keller Williams Realty, the Marketplace, 702 456-5959. That's a great place to send your referrals.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, referrals for sure. And look, I'll be the first. Hold on, are you on Twitter as well or no?
I'm not on Twitter.
Okay, that's fine. I was just going to give everybody your Twitter handle because normally, when these go live, it's amazing. I release them at 12:30 a.m. Eastern, and always about 4 a.m. I'm in San Diego. 4 a.m. my phone starts to ding, 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 ding. Because people are tweeting about episodes. So listen, I'll be the first to kick off the thank you train. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and your business to come and share with me and my audience.
Hey, fantastic. Toby, thank you so much. Look forward to it.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Let's stay in touch.
Thanks. Bye.